Good morning, class. I welcome you all to yet another session of online classes. If you remember precisely, in the last class, I started explaining the lesson called a different kind of school. Right? What did I explain? I explained a different kind of school. I gave you introduction to Miss Beam's school. Miss Beam's school had a visitor, right? And who was the visitor? Who was the visitor? It was the writer, right? The writer had some misconception about Miss Beam's school, which would be cleared as it goes down. So I'm sure you all have read it and went through the video lecture properly, and I do not have to actually re-explain the thing because voca- by learning and reading new words, you'll come across by learning and reading the paragraphs, you'll come across new words. What you are going to do with new words, I've told you plenty of time very clearly. What you are going to do with new words is make a list of the words, use a dictionary, find the meanings of those words, list them down in your notebook, learn them by heart, try to use them in the form of sentence. This is how you're going to learn. Okay. So now let's continue with our explanation. We are at para 10. Clear? So let's begin. There is, I'll just zoom it up a bit. Misery means difficulty or unpleasantness. Clear? Thoughtfulness means carelessness. So let's begin. Yeah. There is no misery about it. There is no misery about it. Means no one is unhappy about the fact that they were having a blind day. Blind day. Did I tell you what a blind day is? They'll be blindfolded with a wrap over in their eyes, and then they have to remain with that bandage over their eyes throughout the day. And then they have this deaf day. You all know what deaf day would be. Take cue from blind day. And they have lame day and so on. Clear? So all these days no one takes this as punishment. There is no misery about it. What Miss Beam says is everyone is very kind, and it is really something of a game. Okay, so she says everyone is very kind to one another, and it's some sort of game for them. Of course, it's going to be very difficult. For example, you're not blind, you're acting blind, and the challenges pertaining to this game is going to be very difficult. But then it is a humble effort from Miss Beam to help her learn. Clear? How will she help her learn? How will she help the children learn? She'll help the children learn by, making them realize how difficult the life of a person is if he or she is going through some sort of misfortune or problem. Okay, for example, if a person is lame, he'll not be able to use his limb properly. So during lame day, the other child who's going through this will understand the kind of pain the lame child goes through day in day out. Okay, so it's inculcating value in the form of game. Inculcating what? Value and understanding. Okay, so let's continue. Everyone is very kind, and it is really something of a game. Before the day is over, though we are here. Clear? Though even the most thoughtless child realizes what misfortune is. So before the end of the day, even most thoughtless means careless, someone who's carefree, does not think of things. Even that sort of child, understands what misfortune actually is. Okay, let's continue. Para 11 now. The blind day is, of course, really the worst. But some of the children tell me that the dumb day is most difficult. We cannot bandage the children's mouth. Have you seen anyone getting his mouth bandaged? The inside. So they really have to exercise their willpower. See, why dumb day is important is because you're not supposed to bandage someone's mouth, and that is why what they have to do is they have to exercise their willpower. Means they'll have to convince their mind not to speak, telling it continuously that it is their dumb day. So what do you think? Is it going to be easy? Not at all, right? It will depend upon the willpower of the person who's trying to practice it. So that is why the writer says, Miss Beam explains to the writer that this is more about their willpower. Okay, come into the garden and see for yourself how the children feel about it. So she invites the writer to come into the garden and have it observed by him and have it observed by his own self on how the children feel about various days. Okay, moving ahead, para 12. Miss Beam led me to one of the bandaged girls. Here's a gentleman come to talk to you. Here's a gentleman come to talk to you, said Miss Beam, and left us. Okay, so Miss Beam brought the gentleman who had come to her school towards the bandage girl, and then she said, here's a gentleman who's come to talk to you. Here's a gentleman who has come to talk to you. And then she left. Okay. So now the writer will begin asking. He says, don't you ever peep? Means, do you ever try to look through the bandage? Okay, I asked the girl. Oh no, she exclaimed. She said, no, 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 not at all. That would be cheating, she said. So truthful, so honest. See, she said, no, that would be cheating. But I had no idea it was so awful to be blind. So she says, no, it would be cheating, but I had no idea it was so awful to be blind. To be blind is an awful thing. This is what she conveyed to the writer. Okay. Awful means very difficult, worst thing. Clear? You can't see a thing. She says you cannot see anything at all. If you are blind, it's very worse. You feel you are going to be hit by something every moment. Just imagine you are blind, you don't have power to vision. What will happen is you'll feel like you will get hit by something as you are trying to walk every moment. So it's a really very scary and dangerous thing. It's such a relief just to sit down. So she says it's a great relief if you sit down. Okay, so by exercising this blind day, the little girl has understood how difficult it is to be blind, and then she is explaining it thoroughly. Okay. So let's get ahead. Are you, so the writer asks, are your helpers kind to you? Fairly, but they are not as careful as I shall be when it is my turn. So she was asked by writer, do your helpers help you? She said, yeah, they help me quite well, fairly, but they are not as careful as they should have been. Because she has experienced how difficult it is to be blind, she adds that when it is her turn to help others on their blind day, she'll be extra careful. Why did she say so? Because she has absolutely realized that it is really very difficult to be blind. Okay. So she says, those that have been blind already are the best helpers because they have understood the misfortune. Clear? That is why those who have already been blind are the best helpers. It's perfectly ghastly not to see. This is, it's so scary. It's ghastly not to see. I wish you would try. So she says, I wish you would try. Okay. She is offering him to try and be blind for a day by blindfolding his eyes, because it's awful, it's dangerous. Okay. So the writer offers her something. What is it? Let's see. He says, shall I lead you anywhere? Would you want me to drop you or take you to somewhere? The writer asks. What will she say? He says, oh yes, let's go for a little walk. He says, let's take a walk. Only you must tell me about things. I shall be so glad. Glad means, what is the meaning of the word glad? I'm sure most of you will know. If you do not, here is the meaning. Glad means happy. Okay. So when the writer offered the girl whether he should lead her somewhere, she said, oh yes, let's go for a walk. And then she adds that he must tell her about things that they will be passing by. She would be very happy doing this. Okay. The other bad day can't be half as bad as this. So she says, other bad days are nothing compared to being blind. I'll be very sympathetic to people who are blind. Okay. So having a leg tied up and hopping about on a crutch is almost fun, I guess. So she said, tying a leg and then hopping means little, right? It's sort of fun, she said. Having an arm tied up is a bit more troublesome, but she says, tying up one arm is actually difficult. You are going to find problem with lot of things. Okay. Why? Because you can't eat without help. You'll need someone to help you all the time, and things like that. Okay, because losing one arm also is not a joke. You'll be constantly dependent upon people. Okay. So she says, I don't think I'll mind being deaf for a day, at least not much. She says, being deaf is not a very difficult thing. I don't mind it, at least not much, is what she's saying. Okay. But what she is highlighting is, being blind is so frightening. What is the meaning of the word frightening, class? Can anyone tell me what is frightening? Even if you say I'll not be able to hear, anyways. Frightening, I'll be interacting about this in Google Meet session separately. Frightening means scary, right? Yeah. My head aches all the time just from worrying that I'll get hurt. So it's constantly disturbing her mind that she is in the touch of someone. She says, my head aches all the time just from worrying that I'll get hurt. Where are we now? She's asking, where are we now? Okay. The writer says, in the playground, we are walking towards the house. Okay, so he's telling her, giving her information. Miss Beam is walking up and down. We are here. Miss Beam is walking up and down the garden with a tall girl. He is giving her information. Beam is walking up and down the garden with a tall girl. So the girl is inquisitive. She'll be asking a few questions. What is it? Let's see. What is the girl wearing? She's asking. Clear? My little friend asked. A blue cotton skirt and a pink blouse is what the answer she received. Okay. I think it's Millie, she said. Okay, she said, I think it's Millie. What color is her hair? Is asking, what color is her hair? Very light. Okay, so he replied, she has light color. Alright. Light, whatever, be it brown. Okay. Yes, that's Millie. So she jumps into the conclusion that that is Millie. She is the head girl. Okay. So she gave him an added information that Millie is the head girl. What girl? Head girl. Okay. Millie is the head girl is what she told her. Okay. Very light, I said. Yes, that's Millie. She is the head girl. There's an old man tying up roses. So there was also an old man tying up roses, rose vine and all. He was trying to fix those by tying them. Okay. So she says, yes, that's Peter. So she knows everyone now just by getting description of things. She was able to tell who's who. Okay. So this also shows that the girl had great observational skill. She was observed. Yes, that's Peter. He's the gardener. He's hundreds of years old. So she's by hundreds of years old. It doesn't mean he's over 100 years old. She's trying to suggest that he's quite old and has been working here for a long time. Okay. And here comes a girl with curly red hair. She's on crutches. So more people are coming. She says, there is a girl with curly red hair. She's on the crutches. We know what crutches are, right? That's Anita, she said. So she says, that's Anita. I know the people. Okay. So now the last para, let's see. And so we walked on. They continue walking. Clear. Gradually means slowly. Gradually, I discovered that I was 10 times more thoughtful than I ever thought I could be. Okay. You see, he was 10 times more thoughtful, more thinking as he spent time at Miss Beam's school. I also realized that if I had to describe people and things to someone else, it made them more interesting to me. Clear. This he also made one interesting observation about himself, and that is if he described people and things to someone else, it made them more interesting to him. Okay. When I finally had to leave, I told Miss Beam that I was very sorry to go. So finally, when he had to leave, he told Miss Beam that he was really very sorry because he had to go. Okay. Ah, she replied. She replied. Then there is something in my system after all. So she's saying, then there is something in my system after all. That is why people are not willing to reply. Okay. So this is E.V. Lucas' piece, Average and Simplified. Clear? So this is interesting piece where we get to learn about an entirely different kind of school, like the name suggests. Okay. Why is it called different kind of school? Because it is obviously different kind of school. The kind of children that read here are not normal. Normal by normal I mean they have some sort of physical discomfort problem. Okay, limb problem, eyes problem, this and that, and in some cases some sort of mental issue and all. But what Miss Beam was doing was she was doing an excellent job by imparting knowledge, education, wisdom, true value to them. How was she doing this? She was doing this in the school by application of methods that were not generally considered very helpful and great. Okay. So that is it with the explanation. I want you all to go through this explanation once again and try and understand the problems and all. Okay. So with this basically we come to conclusion of this lesson. There are not many exercises. What I want you to do is you can analyze the exercises on your own. And if you see on page number, what is it? 64. There is a dictionary section. Just go through it. Try to understand what a dictionary is. If you do not have one, buy one. It's very important for students of your age. Okay. Buy one dictionary. It's not very costly also. It will stay with you for a long time. Okay. So let's see the kind of exercises we have here. What is the first one? Give me some time. Walking with the text. A. Put the sentences from the story in the right order and write them down. Write them out in a paragraph. Don't refer to the text. Without referring to the text, without reading the text again, you are asked to rearrange this in the form of a paragraph. Okay, they are not ordered properly. First sentence, last sentence first, something like that. So you are asked to rearrange them as per the progression of the story and then write them in the form of sentence. So what will it be? It's a self do activity. You will do it on your own, I believe. And we have answered the following question: why do you think the writer visited Miss Beam's school? What is the reason? It's simple. I've already given you the answer. Because he had heard a great deal about Miss Beam's school and actually wanted to visit and experience the system on our own. Right. Next, what was the game that every child in the school had to play? The game was, they were provided with certain days, right, where they had to act blind, deaf, dumb, lame, etc. Each term has one blind day, then complete the line. Which was the hardest? So, which was the hardest? We have just read. Which was the hardest? Mm-hmm. Of course, the blind day was hardest, right? Sorry. I'll just get back. Yeah. Of course, the blind day was hardest. Why do you think it was hardest? It was hardest because what is the reason? Because a blind person would constantly be in fear of getting knocked down or hit by something as they are trying to trudge a walk, right? And it's scary. What was the purpose of this special days? To infill an idea of what others are going through, to make them more thoughtful, right? So since the question answers have already been given, you are assigned with an additional task to go through this question answer and learn them, write them, do whatever, make them complete, make revision. Okay. And if you are having any problem, just refer to it in the video classes. Working with the language. Match the words and phrases with their meanings in the box given below. Okay. So here is a box. You are asked to match the words and their meanings using the phrase. So to do this, you will use your teacher at home. The name of that teacher is dictionary. Clear? I'm sure you all must have one by now. If you don't, like I've said earlier, purchase one. Okay. Like homesick. What is the meaning of the word homesick? Let's take up the first one. Homesick. Almost, it hurts me terrible, taste, strength, understanding the difficulties, wanting to be home. Homesick means wanting to be home. Clear? So you'll match the words phrase with the phrases in the meaning. So match them and write them in your notebook. Learn them by heart. Okay. All are really easy. So let's not waste time over this. And you are asked to rewrite these lines from the story. I had heard a great deal about Miss Beam's school. Miss Beam was all that I had expected, middle aged, full of authority. You asked to rewrite these words in your own. I had heard a great deal about Miss Beam's school. You can say the writer said that he heard a lot about Miss Beam's school, or I heard so many wonderful things about Miss Beam's school, and so on. Okay, so give a try. And this also has already been discussed. Just refer to the old question section and then help yourself. Okay, so what do we have here? Given below is a page from a dictionary. You are asked to look at it carefully and find a word which means the same as ghastly. And this also is self-doable. Refer to this. Okay, a lot of activity for you in this exercise, and you have to do. The problem is, okay, not the problem. It's a fun thing to do your work, right? So make list of all the words on the page. This is continuation, right? So a poem for you to read. Read the poem. Let's read it together. All but blind. All but blind, in his chambered hole, gropes for worms the four-clawed mole. All blood but blind in the evening sky, the hooded bat twirls softly by. All but blind in the burning day, the barn all blunders on her way. And blind as are these three to me, so blind to someone I must be. So it's written by Walter de la Mare. Okay. So not so many things to discuss, and since exercise have already been given, I want you to self practice now. That is why I'm not discussing the exercises at length. You will do them on your own. Okay. Speaking and writing, make a short list of things you find difficult to do. It could be anything like turning a somersault, swimming, jumping. Many people have different sort of difficulty, right? Threading a needle. Okay. So you ask to, so do it on your own. Okay. I might be taking up a Google class on this. Then last one, this also is self doable exercise. So class, basically with this we come to conclusion of today's class. Do the exercise that have been assigned to you on your own. Any problem, do let me know about it. Okay. So thank you everyone for being part of this class. It was wonderful to be sharing my experience with you all through this digital platform. Thank you. Keep learning, keep growing.